Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you're watching. Glad that you've joined me again for another episode of Life Lessons. Glad that you're here. As you can tell, I'm out on the bike today, and I just couldn't resist another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fall day. As I've told you before, I'm not really a big fan of fall and winter. I'm just not. I'm a spring kind of guy, spring and early summer. But boy, you just can't beat this. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous day. So, last week I started a series, a 5-part series on various life lessons from the Bible. And what I'm doing is I'm taking various scriptures, Old, New Testament, a mixture, and I'm seeking to apply biblical life lessons to those scriptures. I believe that God wrote the Bible thousands of years ago with you and me in mind. Some people would say it's outdated. No, I don't think so. It's not outdated. It's very, very timely. And so I wanted to pull out some scriptures and see if we can apply some life lessons to that. I'm glad that you're along for the ride. Sit back, take it easy. If you need to, you can go back and pause this, stop it, make some notes along the way. But I want you to enjoy both the ride and some life lessons today. So I want to continue now. So we did five last week. We're going to do 5 more this week, okay? So number 6 is remember that we should live for God and not human approval. Live for God and not man's approval. Now, let me quickly say that we all like to be affirmed, right? We all like to be told, hey, you're doing a good job, you're important, you're valuable, those kinds of things. There's a difference in that versus I've got to have approval. I just have to have approval. If I get so many likes on Facebook, then I get approved. If I had, let's say I had 100 friends, right? Now I'm not talking about Facebook friends, I'm talking about friends, okay, relationships. And one of those, something went wrong, one of those 100 relationships went wrong somehow, hurt feelings, whatever it might be. What would happen with the person who needs approval is they would neglect the 99 and go after that one until they received approval from them, and then they would be happy. What happens is when we have to have, and I want to underscore, have to have someone's approval, whatever it is, pick one. Whenever we have to have that, in some areas that's called approval addiction. They're addicted to, they got to have approval. And if they don't get approval in the manner and in the time that they want or need, it wrecks everything for them. It just wrecks their whole day, their whole week, their whole month, yada, on and on and on. So I'm not talking about, we need to be, there's a difference between, desiring affirmation and needing approval. This is where you've just got to have it. No matter what it is, who it is, you've got to have it. And what that does is that puts other people, in charge of us, our demeanor, our feelings, our perspectives. It puts them in charge of everything. So when I have to have approval, and I don't have their approval, and it may be job related, it may be relationship related, friendship, whatever it might be. When we don't get that, then it just spoils everything for us, everything. So remember, Paul says in Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for men. Colossians 3:23. Work for God's approval and not man's approval. Now, why is that? Okay, think about this for a second. The Bible tells us over and over again that God is unchanging. He's unchanging. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He doesn't change. Whereas you and I, as human beings, we change. We're a different person today than we were yesterday. We'll be different tomorrow than we are today. Okay? So think about that. So when you have to have somebody's approval, that really, that puts them in charge of you. Okay, that puts them in charge of how you think, how you feel, how you perceive things. It puts them in charge of you. Now, I don't know about you, but, striving after man's approval when man is fickle anyway, we're just fickle human beings. I would rather have God's approval than man's approval. Now, what is it that we have to do for God's approval? Basically nothing. You can't earn God's approval. Okay, you just can't. No matter how much you pray, no matter how much you read your Bible, no matter how many times you attend worship services, Bible studies, it doesn't matter. You cannot earn God's approval. I love what Jeremiah says. Jeremiah quoting God. God says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Think about that. That ought to put a pep in your step. Okay, that ought to really do something for you. It ought to give you that ought to be positive affirmation if ever there was. Because you see, God knows you and I better than you and I know you and I. Does that make sense? He knows you and I better than we know ourselves. Okay? So, number 6 then is, remember that we should seek God's approval and not man. We should live for Him and not human approval. Number 7, we should cling to God and He will remember us. Cling to God and He will remember us. I love that, just the image of that. We live in I don't know how you describe it. We live in crazy time. Crazy time. And we need someone to cling on to. Psalm 91 verse 14 says, because He holds fast to me in love, I will deliver him. I will protect him because He knows my name. I love that. I will cling to Him. We need to cling to God like we've never, it's kind of like clinging to a life preserver, right? When nothing makes sense, when everything is just out of whack, out of sync, like it is today. You wake up this morning and you don't know what the news is going to be. You don't know what's going to be. Is there going to be more good news than bad news? Although bad news sells, right? We're all the time hearing bad news. Things are going on not only here in our nation with the election cycle, but all over the world. That little state of Israel is being hounded. Nations wanting to do away with it, although that's been that way since back at the beginning, before 1948. when Israel became a nation. But we need to cling to something. We need to cling to someone who knows the past, present, and future all at once. Think about that. He knows the past, present, and future all at once. And so we need to cling to him, knowing that he will never forget us. God doesn't have a... I've noticed that the older I get, I don't know about any of you, but I've started this thing of, I walk into a room in our house, and then I forget why I walked into the room. I forget what I was supposed to be, trying to retrieve. I got some traffic behind me here. You may have noticed I'm hoping this works out. I've added another camera, actually 2 cameras, to my bike to give you a little different perspective, and you can see by the one that there's traffic behind me. So this part of the road here is a real curvy road, so I'm trying to find an area where I can pull over and let them by. So number 7, cling to God and he will remember you. So I walk into a room, and then it's like, what did I want in here? What did I come in here for? I walk into the kitchen and I'm going to get something out of the fridge, but I forget why I walked in there. Right? I don't know if any of you've done it, but I've noticed that that's happening to me more and more. It's a little disconcerting, actually. Cling to God, and He will remember you. He'll not forget you. You might think that because of whatever you're going through, that God's forgotten all about you. Trust me, He is not. God allows things to happen, and I'm going to get to that in a second. God allows things to happen to you and I, and we think, we have the feeling that He's forgotten all about us, but He's not. Okay? Cling to God, and He will remember you. Number 8, don't blame God for the troubles in your life. Don't blame God for the troubles in your life. Whenever we're going through a thing, whatever the thing is, whenever we're going through that, we're seeking to find somebody or something that we can blame. Think about Job. In Job chapter 1, verse 22, with all the stuff that Job went through, all of the stuff that he went through, losing all of his possessions, losing all of his family except for his wife, lost all of his children, their spouses. He just lost everything all at once. It wasn't like progression. It was all at once. And verse 22 of Job chapter 1 says that in all of this, what Job went through, in all of this, he did not charge God with wrong. He didn't blame God. He didn't say, well, God, I worship you, every week. I pray. I lead my family. I'm an example to my family. I'm a good citizen. You've blessed me. He didn't say, well, I've done all of that, and then this happens. He didn't say that. Oftentimes when we experience trouble, whatever in whatever form it comes in, whenever we experience trouble, the first person we blame is God. Well, God doesn't like me. God's mad at me for something. Maybe I didn't pray right. Maybe I didn't study my Bible enough. Maybe I didn't do this. Maybe I didn't do that. Okay? Whatever it might be. So anyway, think about that. Number 9. I'm going to have to pull over here for a second because I'm not sure. I think I did. See, I can't remember whether I hit record or not. Number 9. Caring for other people is the best way to live out our faith. Caring for other people is the best way to live out our faith. Now, think about that for a second. We live in a culture, in a time where it's all me-oriented, right? It's all me-oriented. Think about this for a second. If you let me just prove that to you. So, we all have cell phones now. Okay, just about everybody has cell phones. Now, I want you to think about this. So you're out somewhere, you're doing something, or maybe you're at home, and you stick the cell phone up in front of your face to take a picture. What do we call that? What do we call that? Selfie. Okay, we take a selfie. Now, I understand what we mean by that, and I don't want to drive that too far, but it's just indicative that we're all about me. It's all about me. What I want, when I want, how I want, however I want. It's about me. I want it when I want it. I want it in the amount. You are here to serve me. Okay. James 1 verse 27 says, religion that is pure and undefiled is when we take care of other people. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing that. He says, caring for other, religion that is pure and undefiled to God the Father is to visit the orphans, to visit the widows, to take care of them, and to keep ourselves unstained from the world. Okay? Caring for, so what he's saying here, and this is another biblical principle, another life lesson, is that we are to be other-oriented. Now, in a culture that preaches and teaches and propagates, all about self, it's almost like it's counterintuitive. No. Scripture says that in order, caring for other people is, so James also says that faith without works is dead being alone, okay? Which is very, very true. So he says, you show me your faith, I'll show you my works. I'll show you my faith by my works. Faith does something. And in this particular passage, it's teaching us to care for others. And when we do that, we're living out our faith. And we're showing others our faith. Okay? Number 10, and the final one for today, is don't seek positions of power. Instead, serve others. That's very much akin to what I just mentioned. In Matthew chapter 23, verses 11 and 12, Jesus, and I'm going to paraphrase here, Jesus says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The one who seeks to be exalted will be humbled, and the humble will be exalted. I want you to think of that. Again, in a world and in a culture where we, everything is about me. It's about me getting ahead, no matter if I have to step, no matter how many people I have to step on. It's about me getting ahead. Remember, it's all about me. He says the one that wants to be exalted will be humble. Okay? And again, that's counterintuitive to our culture. It goes against the grain. So if you're seeking, no matter if it's in your job or in a relationship or in your family, or pick an instance. If you're seeking to have power, you ever had a supervisor or a boss who you would say of that person, they're just on a power trip? Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. All they're concerned about is having power. And really, when that happens, it's because they feel insecure about themselves or the position that they hold. over the years, there's been in history, particularly with U.S. presidents, that some persons who reach the presidency have that, it's the most powerful office in the world, and yet some of the people who reach that office of power are the most insecure. What comes to mind is Richard Nixon. He was a very powerful person, but he was extremely insecure, and it was that insecurity that brought him down. That's what brought him down. So don't seek positions of power, but instead seek how you can serve others. If you want to be exalted, be humble, be other-oriented, care about them, love them. And what ends up happening really is we benefit from that as well. I've really not met a truly selfish person who is genuinely happy. I've just never met them. They might smile on the outside, but they are absolutely miserable. Okay, so those are the next 5. We've got 10 more to go, 2 more episodes, 3 more episodes to go. I had to count there. And so I'm glad you got to ride along with me today. It's been a little bit of a bumpy, curvy ride today. I probably stuttered and stammered a little bit. I'm trying to divide my attention between riding and paying attention to the curves, the traffic behind me, and sharing some biblical truth with you. So I'm glad that you joined me today. We'll continue next week with this series in living out the life lessons of the Bible, looking at different passages, different scriptures. So thanks for riding along, and I trust that you'll come back, and whether I'm on the bike or in the studio, that you'll stay with this series on life lessons from the Bible. Thanks for riding. God bless you. Have a good day. Have a good rest of your week.